Hey, this is Nick Ferguson from 104.3 The Fan. I'm sitting here with Timothy from New Mexico, and we're going to do this whole one-on-one thing so I can get to know Timothy and he can get to know me. So, Timothy, I'm going to give you the floor, and whatever questions you have for me, I'm going to let you go, and then I have some questions for you.
Nick, I hate to do this to you, buddy, but I gotta ask, how did you let Champ get blown up like that?
Wow. That's how you're going to start it off,
I'm sorry,
asking me
though.
about that? Okay, so here's the God honest truth about what took place on that particular play. Obviously, if you YouTube it, you can see exactly what happened. I'm blitzing. I force Tom Brady to roll to his right side. He throws the ball. He can't really set his feet. And luckily, number 24 is standing right there in front of Troy Brown. He picks the ball off. So we're out to the races. I'm in front of him leading the convoy, right? Making sure I don't see anyone that's in his way that's going to impede his progress to the end zone. So if you remember the video, I'm looking to my left and my right? And I'm doing it really quickly, looking maybe in a 5-yard range, and I don't really see anyone. Now, the only person I see is Troy Brown, right? So I step in front of Troy Brown and I slow down to get him to slow down. Now, to my immediate right, which I cannot see, is Ben Watson, right? He is humping. He's coming out of nowhere. Now, I'm thinking that Champ is all free and clear. He's about to cross the goal line. So I said, you know what? There's no reason for me to continue to run. So I stopped, right? I'm thinking he's going to touch the pylon, dive in the end zone, do something fancy, but he slowed down, right? And I'm thinking, okay, well, here is this University of Georgia guy that me being the Georgia Tech guy, I'm blocking for him that he's going to get all the way to the end zone. So I'm like, okay, well, this Georgia guy, he's got it. And then all of a sudden I see this flash of white jersey come right across my face. And I'm like, what was that? Who was that? And then I realized it was freaking Ben Watson who comes out of nowhere. Now, if you go back and watch this video, right, there's two things that happen in the video, one of which should never happen. Now, there's a rule in the NFL about players touching referees, right? After the play, the referees started to confer because they needed to figure out where the spot of the ball took place. So I go over to the referee, I put my hands on his shoulders, and I tell him, I say, listen, the ball went out right here. It didn't go out there. You got to think about what you saw and what we all know. The ball went out right here. So because I put those words in his mind, even though the ball did go out exactly where I said it went out, he told the other guys. And so when they went to confer in the booth, when they started having that conversation, they realized, yes, there is truth to what happened. So I shouldn't have touched the referee, but I did tell him and helped him out as far as where the ball should be spotted.
You made that play, buddy. I'm just giving you a little bit of crap on this, but man, that was awesome. We were losing our minds in the dorm where we were watching it. Oh man.
Yeah. Well,
We're like, why is he slowing down?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. Most people, when they remember that play, they remember, the play from Ben Watson coming from where he came from. And they also remember Champ, right? There's not too many people that realize, hey, that play was created by my pressure. So I never get credit for it, right? People just kind of jump on me about that, but I give you some inside information, take you behind the curtain. So that next day when we got into meetings, right? Because when Champ was knocked out, he fell on his rear end and he had somewhat of a bruise that kind of hindered him in practice. So when we watched it live in our defensive meeting rooms, do you know my DB coach got upset with me and asked me, hey, why did you block Watson? He said you got Champ hurt. And I'm like, what? Did no one even see what I did to create the play? But you're talking about me getting Champ hurt?
You heard a Hall of Famer, Nick. Jesus.
Well, you know what? That should tell you something about those UGA guys. Finish the deal. You never stop on the play. You always finish. So
Terrell Davis would have taken it to the end zone.
Well, see, there it is. Now, Terrell Davis would have, but Champ Bailey, he had his opportunity. And
I
now everyone gives me grief.
I thought he fumbled through the end zone. I was like, no.
No, if you go back and watch it, he actually fumbled right at the 1 yard line, which when you really think about it, how great that play was and the timing of everything, it was perfect that it fell out right there. And it was one of those games that when you say, well, you never play a perfect game in the NFL. You want to, but you never. But in that game, to me, it was like the football gods were on our side because everything we needed to have happen for us it happened for us, which was amazing. But then we played Pittsburgh, and then it went the total opposite way.
Was that one of your favorite games to play in, though? Against Patriots, that one?
Oh yeah, it was. Timothy, here's why it was so great because at that time, that's when Tom Brady and the Patriots they were starting to make their climb to sending to the top of the NFL, mountaintop, and no one had ever beaten them twice in one season. And if you remember, we beat we beat them earlier in that season, and we knew going into that we had to defeat them because if we didn't, we were going to have to travel to Foxborough.
Yep.
So having them come back to our stadium twice and beating them twice, man, that did a lot for the players' morale, the coaches' morale, and it did a lot for the fan base as well.
And as fun as that one was to win, how brutal was it to lose to the Steelers that next week? That
Well,
sucked.
well, well, I'm going to be totally honest with you, Timothy. I still haven't gotten over that game because it was one of those games. And as a kid, you dream of getting to that level, getting to the Super Bowl, and to know we were 4 quarters away and it never happened. To me, it still haunts me to this day. Every day, every time I watch a playoff game, especially a championship game, I reflect and I remember that particular game. So that game was hard for everyone, man. Like I said, it's taken me some time to get over it, and I still haven't. I remember driving home with my wife. She was my girlfriend then. We didn't even talk. There was no words exchanged, nothing. And I don't think I didn't call anyone in my family for about 2 days. I didn't go anywhere for like 2 weeks. I stayed here. The whole idea of drawing the drapes, turning the lights out, that's exactly how I was after I lost that game.
Man, brutal. No, I'm just a fan, but man, even that one hurt me too. I was just it just was so weird. I was like, yes, we're gonna beat these guys, and then it
Yeah.
just kind of went a little flat. I guess I don't know. I don't know what happened. That's just how
Well,
guess.
it's strange because I knew something was wrong the moment I got there the day of the game. And the reason I knew something was wrong because I was used to seeing so many Broncos fans, but I was seeing so many Steelers fans, and I was trying to figure out how did they get those tickets? Which Broncos fans sold their tickets to these guys? And I was so upset, but I found out something very interesting because during the game, I was saying to myself, it got to a certain point where so many things were going wrong. I said, we're not going to win this game. And I couldn't believe I was saying that. I talked to a former teammate of mine, Hamza Abdullah, who played with me. He was a reserve safety and played special teams. When I lived in California, I bumped into him and we sat down and had lunch. And you know what he told me? He said, Nico, I got to tell you something. I've been wanting to ask you and tell you for all these years. I said, what? He said, man, you remember that Pittsburgh game? I was like, yeah. I was like, one of the worst games in my life based on the outcome. He said, man, I knew we were going to lose. I said, how did you know that? Right? He was like, I could tell by so many things that were going wrong. And he said he could tell by the energy that was in the locker room because it was flat. No one was saying a word. It was almost like we were a boxer that was expected to win and we just got punched in the face.
Oof.
Right? And when he said that, man, my heart dropped to my feet because I was like, wow, I wasn't the only one that thought that. And
I thought it.
see, that tells you what we feel on the field as fans. I mean, as players, the fans feel that too. So as we hurt, just like you said, you hurt as well, and that's why up until that point, we would always go out and try to give it our best because we knew it wasn't just us we were playing for. We were playing for the organization, but more importantly, we were playing for the fan base. And that's why I tell people, I say, look, man, you can talk about the Green Bay Packers, you can talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, but when you talk fan base and you talk loyalty, dude, man, you can't talk about Broncos country, man, because they are right there with their players. And that's why I love you guys, man.
You got a region, man. You got a whole region. You're not just state. You got a whole region of Bronco fans.
Well, see, I got a question for you, Timothy.
All
All right.
right.
With no sports right now, and I know it's painful for all of us. Eventually, it's going to come back. Would you be willing to go to games and adhere to the new kind of regulations as far as 6 feet of separation, mask, gloves? Would you be open to that?
I would do anything to go to a stadium right now. Real baseball or football or anything. A hockey rink, I'd love to do it. I'll wear the mask, I'll wear the gloves, I'll do whatever they tell me.
See, that's what I love, and I hope it doesn't come to like more stiffer, stringent regulations. But the fact that fans like yourself are willing to come back and do whatever it takes to kind of be in that atmosphere, man, that's totally awesome, man. That's totally
Nothing,
awesome.
nothing beats it, man. I mean, I went to that to the AFC Championship game when they won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl
Yeah.
50. Greatest time I've ever had in my life. Just the energy, the atmosphere. It was so fun.
What's your fondest memory of watching that game?
I think it was it might have been the first Owen Daniels when he's just coming right toward us because I was in the south stands,
Yeah.
just coming straight at us, and he did like a little hop or something into the end zone, and I was like, yes.
Did
But
you take?
Tom Brady
Yeah.
did scare me at the end there with that 2 point. I was like, oh,
But when you think about it, when you think about the battles that have taken place between the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots, it to me that's football at its finest, and that's why when I came back to the station, I came back to Denver, and I was on the morning show with Mike Evans, and he asked me about my prediction. And I said, 12-4, because I truly believe that based on how the structure of the schedule kind of laid out. And because I also believe in that standard that you were a fan of, the standard that Mr. Bolin and Mike Shanahan set. I still believe in that standard. And I still don't believe that we're there where we need to, but I'm rooting for this fan base and this organization to get back to where it once was.
7-9, buddy. 7-9.
Yes. Well, see that. Yes, that is my prediction.
Even Merrill has them better than 7-9. Come on, Nick.
Well, first of all, you got to think about Maryland. Maryland is trying to play both sides of the fence, right? So Maryland is a negative person, but he's tossing out 10-6, so the fan base really won't get on him, so he can balance it out. But if you look at everyone else, it's either 9-7 or 8-8. And when you think about it, that's a difference of maybe 2 games here and there. Like Mark Schlereth has them 8-8, and the difference between Mark Schlereth, 8-8, and my 7-9, would you believe it's the Miami Dolphins, I believe, and the New York Jets, right? And maybe I think one more, maybe the Chargers. But we're not that far off, right? And Timothy,
and that's just how the schedule fell.
Well, yeah, and here's what I'm trying to say, Timothy, with my 7-9. The Broncos are going to be so much better this year than they've been over the past couple of years. And I put them at 7-9 because they're still a young team. They don't know how to win those tough games. And looking at the schedule, I mean, you're playing Pittsburgh, you're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the New Orleans Saints. You have the Kansas City Chiefs twice, right? So I'm not really down on them. All I'm saying is because they're a young team, they're not going to win those games because those are tight games. And traditionally in any sports, that's what happens. So I love the Broncos. I love this fan base, but I know it's going to be a little tough for them. But 2021, now that's a different year. 2021 is definitely a different year. So
I just want to be in a game with the Chiefs. Was it like
what,
30
what
to 3 both times last year? Come on.
now when you say you want to be in the game with the Kansas City Chiefs, what does that mean? Are we talking about a field goals difference? What are we talking about?
That means when the second half starts, I'm not already drunk because
well,
it
what
was so bad.
Well, I tell you what, on the Nick and Cecil show, we actually discussed this, and sometimes Cecil and I agree,
Great show.
sometimes we just appreciate it. Thank you. Sometimes we disagree, but here's one thing we do agree: the Broncos are going to lose those two games. But the difference is, wait a minute now, there is hope. There is a silver lining. They're not going to be blown out. The game is going to be closer than what most people think, right? Which is going to show that there's a vast improvement with the Denver Broncos. So you got to take a win wherever you can take it. Do you not?
I'll take it, man. Like I said, if we're in the game in the fourth quarter, I'll be happy.
Well, that's awesome, man. So before we get out of here, before we get you back to work, well, do you have any other question that you want to ask? That it seems as though looking at your face, there's some question you want to ask.
Yeah. How cool is Jake Plummer?
Oh man, Plummer is kind of like the best quarterback I've ever played with because he is so mellow and he's so cool. And when you think of football players, you think about quarterbacks and the amount of money that they're paid, that they would behave in a certain way. Jake was so down to earth. Like we would have our dinners at this steak restaurant called Del Frisco's here on Bellevue. And there was only one offensive player that came every week for 16 weeks. And it wasn't Jay Cutler. It was Jake Plummer, and he was always there. So he became one of our guys. So that's why when Cutler came in, we were like, well, who is this guy and why are they bringing him in? We already have our guy, right? And then it made it worse because Cutler didn't talk to us, right? He didn't really fraternize with us. His guy was Tony Scheffler. So when the switch was made from Jake Plummer to Jake Cutler, a lot of guys on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, we did our jobs, but we didn't really like Cutler because he wasn't a Jake Plummer type guy.
I didn't get that decision at that time. Never will. Don't know why it happened.
Well, neither do I. But sometimes, coaches make decisions, and I'm sure if you were to talk to Mike Shanahan and you asked him, hey, listen, if you could have something back, could change anything in your career, I'm sure he'd probably look at that and change that.
I think he did an interview with D-Mac and he said that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I
Well,
think so.
well, that tells you right there. He knew that wasn't the right move because our team was still intact. We still was somewhat playoff bound team.
Yep. One more from me for you. Who's the
Okay.
biggest dog on defense? Was it Al Wilson?
Yes. Yes.
Was it?
Okay. I'll tell you a quick story about Al Wilson. Al was a very emotional person, both on and off the field. And usually, as players, you're self motivated. I'm a self motivated person. But it was one time that Al actually had to yell and scream at me because, I mean, I was in a whole different zone, man. We were playing we were playing the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday night, and they were moving up and down the field, and our offense couldn't really sustain drives, so it put a lot of pressure on us. Man, I was tired. And I was tired because they kept moving the ball and we're playing at altitude, right?
Yeah.
And it was so bad that I didn't play with my mouthpiece. I threw it away because Al is yelling at me. He was like, hey, man, you need to get your you know what together. I don't know what's going on, but you need to get right. And I was trying to talk to him and breathe at the same time, but I couldn't do it. And he was like, hey, man, hey, get it together. Right.
Whew.
So the ref blew the whistle and I took a deep breath and I was able to go back and play. But I was blown mentally. I was gone because I wasn't thinking about my assignment. I was thinking about how tired I was. Right. And
Yeah.
usually, there's a saying that I heard when I was in college, and it's absolutely true. Vince Lombardi said it. He said, fatigue makes cowards of us all. And when you're tired, you cannot think, right? Only you can think about getting to the sideline, getting a drink of water or something. But yeah, Al kind of tore into me. But after that, he didn't have to do it again.
Well, that's awesome, man. I appreciate this. This was awesome to talk to you, man.
Well, appreciate it, man. Anytime you want to connect with me, I'm on social media at Nick Ferguson underscore 25, both on Instagram and Twitter. And feel free to always, tweet or text or call the show. So we'll Cecil and I be on tonight. Looking forward to another great show. So it is individuals like yourself that make us who we are, why we love our job, and why we love entertaining. So I want to thank you and give you a mile high salute, my friend.
Heck yeah, buddy. Take care.